Good morning, everyone. Treasure Troller here from the partially mask-wearing militant state of Michigan. Now, I have an admission to make. This is my third attempt at this vlog. I tried it twice last night. I'm going to try it this morning. And I'll be very honest with you. I don't think it's going to sound any better this morning than it did on the first two vlogs. But here we go. This raid at Mar A Lago has me really baffled. I'm just very confused about this, because first you have the Trump and the Trump team talking to the National Archives or Presidential Archives, whatever they want to call them, discussing documents, certain documents and whatnot. So that means both sides of this discussion know exactly what documents they're talking about. And they've known now for a couple of years. So both sides know what it is they want. So then they come in on what it was, June 6th, or the beginning of June. They have the final meeting. How things ended is how things ended. Doesn't matter. But they knew what documents were there. And then the FBI makes their uninvited presence known. And they don't take specific documents. They just have this generalized search warrant. This is, we're going to take stuff. More of a smash and grab than it is, we want these certain documents that you're unwilling to give up, although they're willing to give these documents up. And we're just going to go ahead and not give you these documents, but the FBI is there to get those specific documents? No. They're there to grab whatever they can. And then, this is the part that's also kind of confusing to me. They were talking about they got this information from, shall we say, an unnamed reliable source, which seems to run rather fluently through the FBI these days, unnamed reliable sources. So no one knows who this is. Even the mainstream media was talking about, boy, we need to get that. We need to get that to see who it possibly was. But I don't think they need that. I mean, they were talking about how the FBI wanted the surveillance tape. That means there's been cameras on these rooms. All these rooms have had security cameras on them. So they know who's gone in and out of that room to see these documents. They were talking about, oh, the secret documents were in the safe. Well, they also have the cameras up there as well. So they already know who's, shall we say, been in Trump's room to check out the safe. And I almost think because it was an empty safe, I almost have to believe that, I can't think of a TV show or a movie, but it's sort of like you tell three people 3 different places where, let's say, the secret documents are. So then the one that the FBI uses, well, then is kind of the mole. So I'm wondering if there may have been a little gamesmanship there, but it just seems like everyone on all the sides knew supposedly what documents that they wanted, and yet they didn't go to get those documents. It's hard for me to believe that there's an unknown, like when the Trump team was, well, we think everyone on our, here is pretty good. We don't think anyone would in a sense, be working against Trump. And then they talked about how they were, Trump's attorney was talking about how they were watching the uninvited guests go through the place. They were watching it on cameras from New York. So they already knew. They've had the cameras. So I don't know why this individual supposedly is so unknown. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I had another thought with the archives, and it slipped my mind. But it just seems rather peculiar that, I guess right now anyway, since they had the cameras, they would kind of have an idea of who's been lurking, who's been lurking and looking to snitch. So that's the first thing. There was I watch Viva Free, as you should, and he had a small segment Saturday night on the Whitmer retrial case, and a couple things came up that I wasn't aware of, or that wasn't discussed during the first case, and that was apparently this the gentleman by the name of Croft, last name was Croft. I guess he's the tertiary head of this group. They honeypotted him with an informant, and who she had shared a motel room and bed with the gentleman. And then what came up was they were talking about all these different scenarios, and one scenario was kidnapping Whitmer from the Mackinac Island, and it's Mackinac, people. For those of you that are not from Michigan, it is not Mackinac. It is not Mackinac Island. It is not the Mackinac Bridge. It's Mackinac. So apparently there is a summer house for the governor on Mackinac Island, and they were talking about kidnapping her from Mackinac Island using a helicopter. And they were cross-examining one of the FBI agents about this plot. The judge is getting a little testy with the defense team, because he feels like they're dragging on the cross-examination of people. But Viva was saying, well, these defense attorneys are sort of, in a roundabout way, getting these guys to admit that these jabronis were just really all talk, that they were coming up with implausible solutions, things that wouldn't work, or things that just were impossible to even believe. And they had also, damn it, see, that's what happens. I work all night, then I forget some of this shit. But they had that. It was the just how ridiculous that some of this stuff was. They're going to start. They may be putting a shooting clock on, putting the 30-second clock on the defense team. Yeah, I knew there was one more thing that I was forgetting. There was one juror that sounds as though they had already made up their mind how they were going. They wanted to get on the jury so that they could basically put their vote in by lunch when the trial ended. I'm not sure how the judge is handling that individual. He was handling it privately anyway, so we'll have to see what happens with him. I think that's about it. I know, but go ahead and from like Saturday night, there's a Viva Free YouTube vlog. I really recommend you watch him. He does a great job. And then Sundays is him and Robert Barnes. And Barnes is a former defense attorney. They do a really good job. Like I said, I'm just really confused about this raid thing, because everybody knew supposedly what documents they wanted. They had access to the documents. They waited 2 years to decide to get the documents. They get their search warrant. They wait over the weekend to do the raid, and it was based on a unnamed reliable source, but all the rooms have security cameras on them and also like a new lock, so they would have to know how to use the new lock and be on security camera. And then of course they went to the safe, and the safe was empty. But it just sort of confounds me that no one has really said anything about, well, since the rooms were videotaped, wouldn't they just have to go back maybe a month or two? Because the FBI wants the last 2 months basically of tapes. So wouldn't they have an idea of the last 2 months who's been in that room? At least narrow down the suspects, and then the safe as well. So if I think of that, I'm sure as soon as I turn this off, I'll think of the other thing with the Michigan case. I just don't think it's going well for him. I really don't. I mean, I'm not sure I'd want to be paying an attorney. Well, they're probably not having to pay them, but basically, essentially paying your attorney to get up there and to get people to admit that, I'm an idiot. I'm not feeling good about myself. So this is Treasure Troller saying aloha and good day.